Good afternoon. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen. Late afternoon edition of Fire of Liberty, the 26th of June, moving on toward July. Literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. Spiritually going to heat up. Get a lot faster and accelerate, especially with what we shall flow through with this understanding of the very co-creative creativity of the very cohesion that exists in a very spectacular, fluorescent way. However, this is going to be absolutely paramount to our already limitlessness potential, which is going to only expand even more some in order to establish this grand, eternal creation that we manifest as ultimate creators. Of course, the level of mind abilities that we have are already unparalleled. Now, to continue to pave the way, of course, is only just the taste of what it's going to be like for the rest. And so here we go. Of course, already reiterated is the fact that we are creating, not only are aware of the cities of light, but those are being molded and created and accelerated. But of course, we are the builders, we are the creators, and we are the molders of this golden age in which we build with our bodies, with our minds, with our intention, with our limitlessness in strength, wisdom, fearlessness, and goal-oriented potential. Now, of course, our goals are never unreachable. As a matter of fact, no matter what type of dream that could exist, it can definitely be manifested. However, that's just only the tip of the iceberg. And of course, to go beyond that is the least of they're just regular physical capabilities that we can do. The spiritual, of course, expands throughout the entire universe. For example, to put it in some terms, layman's terms, would be type. And of course, we're expanding, of course, with the ultimate limitlessness, which I could reiterate and break down a little bit more to explain. But however, the limitlessness of the mind and our creative abilities, for example, with the type of cohesion that exists with the physiological construct of our neurons, it can be the very type of engine for what we can process at an accelerated rate, and then therefore that exudes throughout our entire neuron system, nervous system, and then develop and just understand the type of proteins that exist in the bloodstream and how those act at a very certain rate, and as well as the oxygenation, which allows us to accelerate towards our very manifestation of our limitlessness, which is only just the foundation of what is already going to be underway in the process of what we are unlimited to be a part of. Now, in ignition, what does that mean? Ultimately, it means what it sounds. It's ultimately not to be limited to a certain type of one vehicle, form of transportation, a mode of acceleration, mode of state of mind. It is all of the above, and it is every form of what has already been done. Because, of course, I want to pick up the pace a lot, so that's what I'm going to do in terms of the limitlessness which is already there for us. Of course, there's continued advancement at a very high rate of course, our ability to communicate with technology, our celestial, for example, our celestial understanding, which allows us to communicate, interact with, for example, technology at a higher elevated rate, which is boosting our spiritual development, which has always been united, as I've always reiterated and always say. For example, peace, paradisical creation on this multi-creationalistical foundation of manifestation of limitlessness is, of course, going to be an accelerated rate. There's going to be a lot more, let's call it connections, a type of spiritual knowing, which is going to allow us to be more in tune with one another, be more in tune with all life, of course, which is always has been, and more aware, of course, which is what has always been, like that type of the consciousness, like us being conscious, like our bodies is the consciousness of that which is the essence of which builds grand, beautiful civilization. So let's continue on with the true development and reiteration and the essence of what ultimately clarifies what we are ultimately. So let's go straight to chapter 5. I like to read. Well, this is a reading thing, if this could be reiterated, but this is just a quick translation followed by the Ripper solo. A person of divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all, because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, and opening and closing his eyes, he always knows that the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. A person in Krishna consciousness is pure in his existence and consequently has nothing to do with any work which depends upon 5 immediate and remote causes: the doer, the work, the situation, the endeavor, and fortune. This is because he is engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting with his body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement. In material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification, but in Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in satisfaction of Krishna's senses. Therefore, Krishna conscious person is always free, even though he appears to be engaged in things of the senses. Activities such as seeing, hearing, speaking, evacuating are actions of the senses meant for work. Krishna consciousness person is never affected by the actions of the senses. He cannot perform any act except in the service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. Pretty much what I broke down, kind of explaining the kind of connectivity that we have with our senses, with our sixth sense, which can be described as a sixth sense, and also with our a sense of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme God, is not affected by sinful action, as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Here Brahmani means Krishna consciousness. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the 3 modes of material nature, technically called the pradhana. The Vedic hymns Sarvam Itad Brahma, Tasmad Itad Brahma Nam Marampananam Kajati, and the Bhagavad Gita Mamanyonir Mahad Brahma indicate that everything in the material world is the manifestation of Brahman. And although the effects are differently manifested, they are non-different from the cause. In the Isopranisad, it is said that everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him. Only one who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that therefore everything is engaged in the service of the Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Even one's material body being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is beyond contamination by sinful reactions. Exactly as the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not wet. The Lord also says in the Gita, resign all works unto me. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses, but a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. On my website, multi-architecture, I really break down a type of, per se, roadmap, which is not only in previous past existence, but also helps reiterate the destiny which is already underway, and allows those to really be unified in this type of clarity of which we can build ourselves and ultimately be the super awesome, supreme light beings that we are. Continuing on, the yogis abandon attachment, act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. By acting in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, intelligence, or even of the senses, is purified of material contamination. There are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna conscious person. Therefore, purified activities, which are generally called sadkara, can be easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness. Sri Rupi Goswami in Bhakti Rasmitra Sindhu describes this as follows. The person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna, with his body, mind, intelligence, and words, is a liberated person even within the material world. Although he may not be engaged in so many material activities, he has no false ego, nor does he believe that he is this material body, nor that he possesses the body. He knows that he is not the body, and that this body does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna, and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, whatever he may have within his possession to Krishna's service, he is at once devoted with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and is devoid of the false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. And so that's what I pretty much explained in my own words in the earlier, many times, over and over and over, many different episodes, many different editions, many different Fire of Liberty shows, many different broadcasts, many different writings, and anyway, to reiterate and to move on. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all activities to me, whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. The difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the results of his activities. The person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person, and he is not anxious for fruitive rewards. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the result of an activity is explained as being due to one's functioning in the concept of duality, that is, without knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. All that exists is a product of Krishna's energy, and Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are, on the absolute plane, they are transcendental and have no material effect. One is, therefore, filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. One who is, however, entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness, the realization that there is no existence besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearlessness. So that's exactly what I just explained and reiterated. So this is known. This is I can without a doubt say that I mastered this. So continuing on. When the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, the material body, neither working nor causing work to be done. The embodied soul lives in the city of 9 gates. The activities of the body or the figurative city of body are conducted automatically by the particular modes of nature. The soul, although subjecting himself to the conditions of the body, can be beyond these conditions if he so desires. Owing only to forgetfulness of his superior nature, he identifies with the material body and therefore suffers. By Krishna consciousness, he can revive his real position and thus come out of his embodiment. Therefore, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, one at once becomes completely aloof from bodily activities. In such a controlled life in which his deliberations are changed, he lives happily within the city of 9 gates. The 9 gates are described as follows. Quote, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is living within the body of a living entity, is the controller of all living entities all over the universe. The body consists of 9 gates, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 1 mouth, and the anus and the genital. The living entity in this condition state identifies himself with the body, but when he identifies himself with the Lord within himself, he becomes just as free as the Lord, even while in the body, end quote. Svet 3:18. Therefore, a Krishna conscious person is free from both the outer and inner activities of the material body. So, also this is breaking down comments, so it also reiterates what we can do. So, ignition, that's, for example, that's a very, very, very summarized summary of the kind of acceleration of what ignition is, for one. For two, it's of course continuously important to create this society, a foundation, a galactic society, which is completely self-sufficient. And I use the word galactic society, but however, that may even be an old term now. But still, galactic society, to have one, a self-sufficient, two, to be unified, and three, and of course there's more than just 3 points, but to be absolutely clear and to be one and to be ultimately accelerating our spiritual advancement, which is a very, very good thing, very positive, and very, it's a thing to, be, it's a huge accomplishment. So it is a huge accomplishment. Grand thing is that we can understand this, accept this, and move on, respect the fact that this has been a very grand transition, and we're going to once again accelerate with one ignition, two with things that follow, which are going to be advanced accordingly. However, this is going to be a magnificent change, and this is what allows us to do such. So key points, key terms, which should be known, is a little bit of roadmap. We're going to see how this happens, see how this works. This should be very positive for turnout, so we shall understand, or we understand it, then, of course. So, truth and produce, or produce, dream, clarity, and then realize. And then, so that is key, that is to be known. And now we can accelerate, move on, and then therefore enhance ourselves. Very important that we understand that what it means to be not only the limitlessness of being in, for example, quote, embodied, unquote, in limitlessness, as, we are able to move, manipulate, and control, and, control of the universe, this one, through the cosmic lattice, and also continue to be the limitlessness through our own omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. Our vision is, for example, the quote, diamond eyes, unquote, to be the limitlessness that we already are. So understand that, accelerate, and then let's move on into an accelerated, united peace, because that is very important to create heaven on earth, which is going to be surrounded in every type of bliss without any type of, which is kind of moving toward the future, is also part of understanding that it's in the present now. So that's very key. Of course, these movements, these changes are going to be even grander. Of course, there were tidal waves, and now we're on to something even grander, which is a literal spark, which is going to be sparks after spark after spark. So it's going to be basically a new type of nature. So it's even more powerful than lightning. It is essence, in a sense. So there'll be better clarifications for this. So we're going to change. I'm going to continue to change the world. We're going to continue to change the world, make it a better place, and be limitlessness, express ourselves. Just be cognizant of our unlimited potential. And to, once again, accelerate at the rate of ignition, which is going to be faster than any type of previous form, for example, of electromagnetic mastery intelligence. So we're going to follow through, committed with excellence, and with our knowledge of absolute truth, and to be unlimited beings, light beings, manifesting creation. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen, on this evening edition, or late afternoon, an evening edition of Fire of Liberty. Love you all. Let's continue to change the world. Make it a greater place.